A clean energy alliance is quietly rewriting the balance of power. While Washington focuses on domestic oil and gas, Ottawa is investing in one of the sunniest regions on Earth, Morocco's Sahara Desert. Here, solar projects are scaling to power millions of homes. With financing structures the U.S. simply isn't offering. This isn't just about electricity. It's about influence, trade, and who gets to lead the green economy. Today, we're breaking down how Canada is joining Morocco's solar empire and why U.S. can't compete. Welcome to GeoCapitalist, where we decode global wealth one power shift at a time. If you want to understand the real moves shaping trade, technology, and energy, moves that rarely make headlines in the U.S., make sure to subscribe now. These are the stories that will define tomorrow's economy. Morocco has built a renewable energy infrastructure unmatched in Africa. Its flagship, the Noor Ouarzazate complex, stretches across the desert like a mirror to the sky, capable of powering hundreds of thousands of homes. In 2025, Noor 3rd returned to operation after more than a year offline, signaling not only resilience but ambition. Morocco's National Energy Agency, MEISEN, has combined clear regulation with aggressive investment targets, making the country a magnet for clean tech financing. The goal is bold: 52% of Morocco's electricity from renewables by 2030. But this isn't just about domestic supply. Morocco is strategically positioning itself as an exporter, sending solar and wind power north to Europe via undersea cables. Even with the UK's withdrawal from the X-Links mega project in 2025, Morocco's momentum hasn't slowed. It's doubling down on partnerships that combine green power with economic leverage. And now, Canada has stepped in, not to build the panels, but to finance the ecosystem that builds them. This is where the story shifts from energy production to global economic strategy. Canada's role in Morocco's solar empire is not about shipping engineers or manufacturing turbines. It's about unlocking capital. In 2025, through the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development's High-Impact Partnership on Climate Action, known as outpaces, Canada contributed €2.4 million to a €55 million financing package for Sahara Bank in Morocco. Another €70 million was directed to Bank of Africa, with Canadian support embedded in the package. These aren't charity grants, they're structured loans for green projects, designed to de-risk private investment and bring down borrowing costs for Moroccan companies. The recipients aren't multinational giants, they're local small and medium-sized enterprises. Think of a date processing plant in the Atlas foothills that wants to install rooftop solar, or a textile mill in Casablanca aiming to cut its energy bill with efficiency upgrades. Without affordable credit, those projects stall. With blended finance, where public money lowers risk for private lenders, they move forward. For Canada, this is part of a $5.3 billion climate finance pledge running through 2026. It's not just about hitting environmental targets, it's about building long-term relationships in emerging markets. Morocco offers political stability, a strong investment framework, and direct access to Europe's power grid. By positioning itself as a financial partner now, Canada is securing a foothold in the infrastructure of tomorrow's energy trade, and that, in turn, sets the stage for influence in Europe's clean power supply chain, a chain the U.S. isn't investing in at this level. The next chapter of this story isn't just about who generates the power, but who finances the future. In mid-2025, a turning point opened the door for Canada. The United Kingdom, once the most visible foreign partner in Morocco's clean energy export plans, pulled out of the $25 billion X-Links project. The plan was ambitious: 10.5 gigawatts of solar and wind in Morocco's desert, plus battery storage linked to Britain by 4 undersea cables stretching 3,800 kilometers. It could have supplied up to 8% of the UK's electricity. But after years of preparation, London said no. Official statements cited national security risks, uncertain delivery timelines, and cost overruns. Privately, analysts pointed to a political climate favoring domestic projects and a reluctance to rely on foreign infrastructure. Whatever the reason, the exit left a vacuum. For Morocco, the risk was not just losing a customer, it was losing a funding anchor. X-Links had attracted private backers like Total Energies and Octopus Energy, but those commitments were tied to the UK market. Without government endorsement, the financial model unraveled. Enter Canada. While Ottawa did not replace the UK's purchase agreement, it stepped into the broader financing landscape. By channeling funds through multilateral banks, Canada avoided the political baggage of bilateral mega-deals. Instead, it targeted the arteries of Morocco's renewable sector, the local banks and lenders that decide which projects break ground. This quieter approach plays to Canada's strengths: stable credit, credibility in climate finance, and the ability to work within European and African frameworks. With the UK retreating and the US absent, Canada's timing couldn't have been better. It was not about headlines or ribbon cuttings, but about securing a seat at the table where the future of green energy trade is negotiated. At first glance, it might seem odd that the United States, with its financial muscle and clean tech sector, isn't in this game. But the gap is structural. The U.S. has no equivalent to the EBRD's high-impact partnership on climate action, the mechanism Canada is using to reach Morocco's renewable sector. Washington's green finance programs focus heavily on domestic projects or on strategic allies, where political and security interests dominate. Morocco simply hasn't been a priority in that hierarchy. There's also the matter of delivery model. U.S. development finance tends to favor large-scale projects backed by American contractors. That approach struggles in markets like Morocco, where renewable expansion often depends on local, small, and medium-sized enterprises companies that need access to mid-range loans, not billion-dollar engineering contracts. Meanwhile, Canada's strategy is deliberately low-profile, but high-impact. By co-financing through multilateral channels, Ottawa can inject relatively small amounts of capital that unlock much larger lending pools. A €2.4 million Canadian contribution can de-risk a €55 million package, making banks more willing to finance rooftop solar for a food processor in Fez or efficiency retrofits for a garment factory in Rabat. The U.S. is also facing a political headwind at home. In 2025, federal renewable budgets are being squeezed by competing demands, including subsidies for fossil fuel exports and domestic industrial reshoring. That leaves little room for subtle long-term plays in North Africa. In short, Canada can compete here because it isn't trying to dominate the stage. It's playing a supporting role that, in this context, is far more effective, and one the U.S. isn't structurally set up to play. It's one thing to talk about climate finance. It's another to see where the money lands. In Morocco, the funds Canada supports don't sit in a vault. They move through local banks like Sahara Bank and Bank of Africa into targeted green lending programs. These programs, under the GEF Plus framework, are designed to finance projects that cut emissions, improve efficiency, or adapt to climate impacts. A small manufacturing plant in Tangier might apply for a loan to install rooftop solar panels, lowering its electricity bill and its carbon footprint. A date farm in Arcadia could finance drip irrigation powered by solar pumps, reducing water use in an increasingly arid climate. A textile mill in Casablanca might upgrade to high-efficiency dyeing equipment that uses less energy and produces less wastewater. The scale of these projects is modest compared to a desert megafarm like Ouarzazate, but that's precisely the point. Smaller projects are faster to launch, spread benefits more widely, and create a network of clean energy adoption that's harder to disrupt. Canada's role here is subtle, but crucial. By helping de-risk the loans, Ottawa ensures Moroccan banks can offer lower interest rates and longer repayment terms. That opens the door for more businesses to participate and builds trust in the idea that clean technology is not just for massive, state-led projects, but for everyday commerce. This kind of lending may not make front-page headlines, but over time, it shapes the market from the ground up. And for Canada, it's a long-term investment in influence, creating economic ties that will still matter long after the initial loans are repaid. Europe's clean energy strategy in the mid-2020s has one core weakness: speed. Domestic solar and wind deployment is accelerating, but grid upgrades and permitting delays still slow progress. That's why Morocco's solar empire is so valuable. It offers a politically stable, geographically close source of renewable electricity. Undersea cables linking North Africa to Spain and beyond can feed directly into Europe's grid, reducing reliance on volatile gas markets. Canada's involvement strengthens that equation. By co-financing Moroccan green projects, Ottawa isn't just backing another country's infrastructure, it's reinforcing Europe's supply security. In an era where energy is a strategic asset that matters, it means Canadian-linked projects in Morocco could be delivering power or components to European partners for decades, with Canada recognized as a facilitator. For North America, the picture is split. The U.S., absent from these financial partnerships, gains no direct influence over Morocco's energy exports. Its leverage in European clean energy policy, already under pressure, erodes further. Meanwhile, Canadian firms and financiers are positioned to act as intermediaries between Moroccan producers and European buyers. There's also a trade diversification angle. By helping Morocco scale renewables, Canada builds non-U.S. trade channels that can withstand shifts in American policy. If U.S. tariffs or political priorities change, Canada's partnerships abroad give it alternative routes for both imports and exports. The takeaway is simple but strategic. In tying its financial capital to Morocco's renewable capacity, Canada is inserting itself into the transatlantic clean energy conversation, and doing so in a way the U.S. can't easily counter without a major policy shift. The story of Canada joining Morocco's solar empire is still unfolding, and the next 18 months will determine how deep this partnership runs. On the immediate horizon are two major developments to watch. First, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development is expected to extend more GF+ financing to additional Moroccan banks. If that happens, Canada could expand its co-financing role beyond Saham Bank and Bank of Africa, widening its influence in the market. Second, Morocco's Normodelt projects, combining solar and wind with battery storage, are moving into advanced stages. These hybrid facilities could redefine how renewable energy is dispatched, offering a model for balancing grids in real time. If Canadian-backed financing reaches these projects, it would mark a shift from supporting small and mid-scale adoption to anchoring large-scale infrastructure. There's also the question of 2026. Canada's current $5.3 billion climate finance commitment is set to expire. Whether Ottawa renews, and at what scale, will send a strong signal about its long-term ambitions in North Africa and the broader clean energy market. For now, Canada's approach has been quiet but calculated, turning modest financial inputs into significant strategic leverage. It's a reminder that in the new energy economy, influence isn't just measured in megawatts. It's measured in where the money flows and who earns trust on the ground. If you found this breakdown valuable, watch our next video. It connects directly to what's unfolding. And don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us decode these global shifts without compromise. Let us know in the comments, is Canada simply diversifying, or is this the start of a permanent clean energy realignment? Either way, the world is watching. This was Canada joins Morocco's solar empire. The US can't compete. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.